We're going to get to know Skyler a little bit. She is a wedding planner based out of Houston, Texas. As you can see, she is in a hotel because this is the life of a wedding planner. And I'm so glad that she was able to hop on a call with me. If you are looking to have your wedding planned, Skyler could be a great option for you. And at the moment, we are going to take some time to get to know her. But let's start with this. Skyler, when did you get into wedding planning?
So I found out recently that I am really connected to my gut, apparently, and one of those like personality things that are floating out there. And totally makes sense because my history of how I chose to enter the wedding industry was very gut driven and has no real reason why I should have gone into the wedding industry. So prior to deciding that I wanted to be a wedding planner, I had been a flower girl at 6 years old, and that was it. That was all I had experience in weddings. I'm not the girl who dreamed of her wedding her whole life. I wasn't like Princess Fairy Tale girl at all. But when I was in my senior year of high school, I hadn't chosen what major I wanted. It was like right when Pinterest had come out, and scanning on Pinterest and looking at these things. And my friend goes, I think I want to be a wedding planner. And it was like a light bulb went off in my head. And my gut said, yes, that is it. This is what you want to do. And so I signed up for classes at Auburn University for hospitality management and didn't look back. And it's been 10 years now. So.
And how did signing up, it's funny. So your immediate thing was, I'm going to sign up for classes. And you went to Auburn University. Mm-hmm. And how did that help you kind of how did that set you up for the last 10 years?
Yeah. So for me, what I loved about my education, which obviously you don't have to get a degree to be a wedding planner. You don't have to get a degree to be a good wedding planner, in any sense of the word. But I grew up in a family where I was going to go to college. That was going to happen. And so, but I wanted it to mean something. And I didn't choose hospitality as like a backup plan for wedding planning or anything like that. Why I chose it was because I wanted to understand why my vendors that I was working with were making the decisions that they were making. So I wanted to understand food costs. I wanted to understand best available rates at hotels and things like that so that I could speak in an educated manner with my couples about what we could or could not negotiate on, or what was or was not an industry standard and all that sort of understanding there. I also appreciated that at Auburn, one of the things within the hospitality management program is a business minor. So I was able to kind of choose some business minor focuses that were on entrepreneurship because I knew that I kind of wanted to go into business for myself. And so I got to do that side of it, as well as some of the electives that I was able to talk my advisor into letting me do, like a floral design class and different things like that I could really get to understand the mechanics of, as I said, what my other vendors that I work with every day actually goes into their job.
That's kind of brilliant. Now hearing you talk about that, it's funny because I'm a wedding videographer and I see one aspect of the day, and obviously you're the planner, so you're like this choreographer orchestrating everything. When you thought, interesting question, 10 years ago, and you're like, I'm going to be a wedding planner, and obviously you kind of, especially for you, your imagination probably takes over, and you try to envision what that was going to be like because you were a flower girl when you were 6. Now that you've been in it for 10 years, like, what do you love about it? What did you think it was going to be, or how has that altered?
Yeah. I did not know that I was going to spend 98% of my time behind a computer in an inbox. And that actually spurred me on to create some really good, I feel like some really good systems and processes and email templates that I actually sell for other wedding planners, because the burnout can be real in this industry. And especially when you aren't getting to do the things that light you up. And just personally, emails don't light me up. So I was imagining totally like going to all these mock-ups and playing at rental places and, really just getting food tastings, all these sorts of things, which I do get to do, but just not, it's not every day. It's, like every few weeks or something like that. I get one of those really fun kind of like the things that couples love about weddings. Wedding planners typically also love about weddings. And I love to get down and dirty in some logistics, but it's more fun if I get to eat and drink wine while I'm doing it. So
that's awesome. This all makes so much more sense now after looking at your social media. If anybody checks out her social media, it is, she does a cool thing called Wedding and Wine. Is it Wedding and Wine, right? Wine and Wedding?
Wine and Weddings.
Wine and Weddings, yeah. super casual. Also another great way to get to know her. Okay, so now talk to me about, what do you feel like sets you apart? Gosh, I hate that question. It feels so corny, but like, what do you like? Obviously, you love doing this. You've been in for 10 years. You haven't burnt out, right?
Yeah.
What is it that you like? And I see two facets of you. It looks like you like helping out other wedding planners, saying, hey, here's some systems, because we know we all don't like doing that. So let's help you focus on things you love. What do you love right now as you're doing this stuff?
Yeah. So the things that I love the most, and the couples that I feel like I serve the best, I really like to think of myself as a planning partner. So I'm the person to step in and really give you guidance through the process, and handle some things that may be less fun, like stuffing invitations and RSVP management and all that kind of things. But really, I want my couples, and most of my couples want the experience of planning their wedding. They just really need the support and guidance from somebody who knows how to do it right, to save them the stress and headache that would come with trying to fumble along in the dark and figure it out themselves. Most of my couples love like a minimalist, really intentional style. They aren't necessarily an over the top kind of people. They love beautiful things, but they love things that kind of marry form and function together. That's something that I think that I do really well, is, think about how we can really utilize these ideas we have, that they're not just pretty. They also have a purpose to them, and they have a function that guests actually enjoy, because you can make something pretty all day, but if the guest experience isn't there, you're not going to get the rave reviews about your wedding that you want. As a couple, you want people to walk away saying this was the best wedding ever. And you're not going to get that just because things are pretty. If your guests don't enjoy it, if the flow doesn't make sense, if the pretty things don't make sense in the room as far as like how they interact with it, then you're not going to get that feedback that you really, really want.
Yeah. That's big. So essentially what you're saying is, hey, let's make stuff pretty, but first and foremost, let's put the couples and the family and the friends and the guest experience above that, so that they serve their experience versus the other way around.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was reading on one of the websites before we hopped on the call, and it looks like you were talking about utilizing a space so that it encourages connection, the environment you want, the atmosphere, so that you create a space for those moments to happen between friends, family, guests.
I love to talk to my couples about, because a lot of people say, we want to have fun. And I ask them, like, what is fun to you? Yes. Yeah. What do you and your friends do for fun? And some people are like, we want an incredible band with an awesome dance floor. Our friends love to dance all night. That is fun for us. And I have some couples who say, we're really kind of a little bit more laid back. We love to talk. We want good music, but we're not necessarily going to be on the dance floor all night. Well, okay, we don't want to drop tons of money on an incredible dance floor and dance floor installation floral above it, or bandstand and all that sort of stuff. We want to invest in lounge furniture and maybe a station style dinner service and stuff like that, that really moves people through a space and they can flow and have those conversations naturally and do what they love to do. And then it's supported, rather than trying to force them to have a wedding that doesn't really connect with them or their guests, because that's what weddings are.
Yes. I love it. So you really dive into the couple, figure out what they want, instead of bringing some kind of mold to say, oh, this is what I did in my last wedding. It was great. Let's do that for you guys. And they're like, no, we're completely different.
Yeah. Honestly, that bores the hell out of me. Like, I get so, which is partly why I do destination weddings, is because I don't like recreating the same weddings at the same venues with the same vendors over and over and over again. I like the challenge. I like the newness. I like to, I like to bring a fresh perspective into an area. I'm very respectful of the vendors that are there and the way that things are done in each location. But I also like to push it a little bit and be like, well, what if instead of doing your ceremony facing this way, we actually did it this way? Or just little things like that may not be what the local team is maybe used to doing, because this is what they've done so many times in a routine.
So it's funny, because I feel the same way. Like, I love going to new locations because it personally, for me, because it keeps things fresh and exciting. Yeah. And I almost feel like you see things a different way than somebody who's seen that place 100 times, which can be a benefit and not a downside. Do couples, I also know where sometimes I'll have to speak with couples about, maybe they're like, some couples want the experience of like, oh, we want somebody who's worked there before. Whereas I don't see that as being like a negative or a downfall. I don't necessarily see somebody having advantage over me coming in. And so what do couples think with you? Because now you have to possibly go through the legwork of creating brand new connections in a city, brand new connections with the venue. Who are the rentals? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're in Houston, you know all that stuff and you have those connections. So what's your take on that? If couples are like, well, how can you do this? What's the work going to be like? Can you knock this out of the park?
Yeah. So I think that one of the ways that I've done that is so I started my career working for a planning company named Chancy Charm, and we and still have a great relationship with them, and still work with them on some things. And they have a lot of locations coast to coast. So I have a network of other planners that I can go to and ask questions to if they're, I'm like, hey, has anybody planned a wedding in this location? We're looking for this specific thing that a couple is looking for. But also a lot of times, reputation matters. And there are a lot of great people that I work with in locations that belong to those locations, like rentals and catering that you're talking about and things like that. But also, like, I have a wedding company up in Carmel, and we're actually using a Houston linens company to ship some linens up there, because I knew that this company had this very specific linen that we were looking for. And I was scouring all over the places in Monterey and Carmel, and I just wasn't seeing the right color. And I knew that I could go into the office and talk to the local girl and get that made up for this couple. And so I think that it's actually an asset, because if there's not something in your location that you're getting married in that you want, I probably know some other locations that we can probably get it shipped in or driven in from for you that fits more of what you're looking for, and not just the best thing they have available there.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Cool. I think we'll end it there. I think if you want to learn more about Skyler, and you're watching this anywhere, I will make sure to link her down below. Her Instagram's a great spot to do it. You can see posts, weddings that she's done. You can see Weddings and Wine, which is fun to hear her just talk more with other vendors in the industry. And if somebody wants to reach out to you, where would they find you for like a contact form to inquire?
Yeah, you can find me on SkylerCaitlin.com. That's SkylerCaitlin.com. Fun fact, I could not spell my middle name Caitlin until I was like maybe 8 or 9 years old. And it still sometimes trips me up, which is like maybe one of those embarrassing things. Spelling's not my forte. That's why I always use spell check on your stationery, and you always sign off on it too. But that is, you can find me there, and it's, you'll find my contact form and more information about the wedding weekends that I plan.
Dude, the pain is real. I will often post on social and then immediately go back and edit it. I'm just like, how did I not even see that? I'm just like, oh,
yes.
All that, my mom's voice just runs through my head at that point.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.